Hey there, soccer freaks. This is ATL On Fire, the podcast where we talk all things Atlanta United Football Club. So sit back, buckle up, enjoy. One of the things we haven't talked about is Martinez through these games, and what's been your take on his progression from being subbed in late in games to getting his first full 90 minutes in that that was in the Philly game, correct?
Yeah. The interesting thing is that, you know, prior to the Chicago game, in the two legs of the CCL and in Orlando, it looked to me like it was going to be a really long road. He just seems so timid and so afraid of, re-injuring or whatever. And one of the problems you have when you have a player coming back from ACL, it's not just whether or not, you're fast enough, strong enough or whatever, but also mentally whether you trust it or not. And it
Yeah.
didn't look like to me like he was trusting it at all. And I'm like, ooh, it's going to be a long road. But in the Chicago game was the first time where I looked like, oh, well, maybe not. Maybe he does trust it a little bit. Maybe a couple of games in, you finally saw him doing, Josef Martinez kind of things. And that gave me some hope.
Yeah, I watched a ESPN FC interview with him. I think it was probably just before that Orlando game, maybe the week before, with his Venezuelan compatriot. What's the guy Ali on ESPN
Yeah, Ali
FC,
Martinez.
and it was pretty telling in terms of wow, you can only fake so much when you're in an interview. He was very unsure of where he was with his ability to come back full speed, and it was blatant in that interview with the way he was answering questions. And it was very clear to me when he had his moments in Orlando and even the CCL games against the Costa Rican side. He was just it was going to be a long road, and I think it still will be. Now, come around the Philly game, I felt like he started to get himself more involved in these games, and even the game against New England last night, I think he had some moments where his involvement um, is starting to show some of the signs of the old Josef Martinez. And you know, an ACL injury, as you know, Dave, is not a easy thing to recover from. So I think the way that he's been managed into these games has been the right approach as well. So the fact that he got his first 90 minutes against Philadelphia, I thought overall he looked great. He slotted Moreno in for a little pass that should have been a goal. He had a little outside of the left foot shot that was really solid. He actually got hit in that leg, and it was like a little bit of a worrisome moment. But sometimes that's what you need to take the next step of knowing that you can take a legitimate knock and keep moving on. So overall, I think his management back into recovery and getting minutes, getting prepared to actually be able to go 90 minutes going forward has been good with Heinze all the way up through even last night. But I don't know what your take was.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it perfectly segues into something that I wanted to talk about, which is in the entire short history of Atlanta United thus far, we have never had a coach who rotates the squad. We've had some deep squads, but we've never had a coach who rotates the squad. Tata didn't do it. DeBoer didn't do it. Stephen Glass didn't do it, although he did a little bit maybe. But
Oh, and we saw that last night.
yeah, and so there's a lot of people talking about, well, Heinz is trying to figure out what his best lineup is, whatever.
Yeah,
That didn't strike me as that at all. I think Heinz knows exactly what he thinks his lineup is. He may tweak that long term or whatever,
yeah,
but he knows exactly what he wants to do. And that was squad rotation, which we've never seen before at Atlanta United. And that was designed, you know, it's a remarkably confident thing to do as a manager, because usually you would say, even if you're a squad rotation manager, you say, all right, look, you play the first 5 games, you try to, you've never managed a side, you haven't had a long time in preseason, right? So you want to get the team going, get them understanding everything, get everybody firing on all cylinders. The kind of games that you had at Chicago, have a few of them and then start to rotate. But no, right? So he, has that game at Chicago, has a disaster in the Champions League against Philadelphia, right? And you might think he would go right back to exactly what he did at Chicago and try to get another MLS win. And he shows, I think, to me, maybe a ton of confidence, maybe not deserved, but a ton of confidence, and rotated the squad.
Yeah.
I
And
think that's what that was.
And to some degree, had we not been coming up against a Bruce Arena coach side, we would have minimum got a tie out of that game. But the minute that I started to think about the fact that we're playing New England with Bruce at coach there, I knew it was going to be a tough game. Especially when I saw the starting lineup, I said, "Boy, it's going to be a long night," and it was. I mean, I think we scraped our way to getting the tie with the Moreno penalty kick. Which, by the way, I predicted that Moreno would get a goal.
Dear podcast listeners, you must watch Mikey Dobbs's cooking show that goes along with the podcast, and in that, and we swear to you, it was recorded prior to the game. Mikey Dobbs predicted that Moreno would score.
It was, and that was my only prediction in the in the pilot of a new cooking series that I may or may not be able to commit to, but thought it would be fun during these away games maybe to do a little bit of cooking either in the green egg or in the kitchen and share some recipes. So for the first time ever, I cooked a brisket on a green egg that I got a week ago. And Dave, as I understand it, is the brisket guru. So I have to talk to you about this maybe after the podcast on some of the mistakes I may have made. But
I have to say, you sounded extremely confident for only having had the egg for a week. I was really impressed.
I appreciate that. It's funny, like the grill and like cooking meats is something that I just feels very natural to me. And one of the things that, I've learned just watching other people do this is, especially with these slow cooks, just give it as much time as possible. More time, the better, low temperature. And you can't really mess it up when that's the case. So, Dave, what are you eating there? That looks delicious. You look like you've been coaching kids and maybe you're a little hungry and starved and multitasking to get a podcast in this evening.
I'm eating cheese and crackers. And I have to say, for the first time, I'm doing a first on the ATL on Fire podcast. I'm drinking a white wine.
Ooh.
So I'm drinking a Chateau Saint Michel, which I've drank before, the red. This is a Washington State amazing winery. This is their Indian Wells, which is slightly higher version of their label. But this is a white. This is Chardonnay, which I think has just been introduced. The Indian Wells has always been a red wine, and this is their first white version of it. It's very nice.
It looks good. Looks good.
What are you drinking?
I'm just drinking the House McManus. That's what we have all the time. Nothing. I tried to sneak a Russian River that we had upstairs, and Leah's like, "You're not taking that down to the podcast." So stuck with McManus tonight.
Wow.
Yeah, I got shut down.
It's a nice wine on the podcast. Oh my goodness.
Well, if you were here, she wouldn't have denied it, but you've decided to do another Zoom. Next time you're here,